We're in the Pacific seaport of Guayaquil here in Ecuador, the Monumental del Barcelona, one of the leading sides in Ecuadorian domestic football, for this final tie from a fascinating Group 2 as the drama unfolds right to the death. Ecuador and Paraguay, the two sides here in opposition today. Well, Paraguay crossing the Andes, knowing that only a win will be good enough, because with that inferior goal difference to Colombia with the extra point, it all means that it's Colombia to profit from any result that Ecuador might be able to pull off here. Well, there's never been anything more than 2 goals, as we said, between all the 3 sides in this Group 2. And South American football experiencing a levelling up of standards, which has become a feature of soccer worldwide. We're underway then in the first half, and Ecuador playing from left to right in the yellow and blue. Paraguay, of course, in their traditional red and white stripes. 2-1 the result when these two sides met in Asunción a couple of weeks ago. But really it was last week's crucial game in Barranquilla, if you were with us for that, which saw Colombia coming from behind to deny the team here in the red and white. And that's why Colombia are sitting pretty and watching this game, I'm sure, as avidly as we are, to find out if they'll be participating in the playoff against Israel for a place in Italy. And the first chance inside the first minute for the home side, but safely held by the Paraguayan keeper. It's the old maestro Fernandez in goal this afternoon for Paraguay, age 34 now. And of course he's in replacing the extrovert Chilevert, as we see once again the save from Fernandez. Well, the 34-year-old reflexes were good enough to hold that header. Really not enough power in it, but an early question mark there against the Paraguayan central defenders, who completely lost their man for a second. And Ecuador making the running inside the first 5 minutes here. Fernandez is out. Almost Chilevert style there to clear into touch. Well, the stadium not full by any means. Ecuador, of course, are only playing for pride here today, but they're still making plenty of noise. Running through that Paraguayan side for you. This game, of course, absolutely crucial to their World Cup chances. Fernandez replacing Chilevert. And across the back 4, it's Caceres, the number 2, or Caceres. Both pronunciations are used. That's behind for a goal kick. The 2 centre-backs for Paraguay, the number 3 is Zabala, and the strongman, the number 5, who plays for Independiente in Argentina, that's Delgado. And the number 4 operating at right back will be Torrales. And in midfield, Paraguay line up with Núñez, Canete, and the young sensation in Paraguayan football, Nefa. Look out for him, the number 11 breaking from midfield. And Paraguay up front, Cabanes, the free-scoring central striker Ferreira, and Mendoza. And another one for Ecuador to chase. Looking for their front runners, Aviles and Guerrero. Ecuador lining up, we suspect 4-4-2 from them. But of course, Paraguay, who have to win, we're expecting more attacking things from them. They'll be 4-4-3. That's the story pre-kickoff from the dressing room, but in the first 5 minutes here, they've been rather penned back in their own half. That's Paraguay on the far side with Torrales. But that's not a good one. Not too far from my commentary position, not too many spectators in that shot. But once again, our commentary position seems to be in the middle of the musicians. All making for the great theatrical drama that is, of course, soccer in South America. And we've got the whistles going as well, so it all makes things difficult for referee and players. And in fact, I don't think the Paraguayan had heard the whistle there. But a free kick to Ecuador, in fact a throw-in. finding the keeper, Mendoza. So Ecuador across the back four. They've brought in the youngster, the number 21, coming into the side at left full back is Bravo. Their influential stopper is Quinones, of course. We've come to know him over the last few weeks. Macias alongside Quinones, and Capurro, the right back. And in midfield, Ecuador lining up with Fajardo, Marcetti, Abuenaga and Munoz. And up front, Aviles, perhaps their best player. And coming in, the number 11, Guerrero. And Ecuador really forcing the pace here and looking confident on the ball in the early stages. This is Guerrero. Cut out by the Paraguayan defenders. Now they're trying to launch something themselves. Haven't seen too much of the ball here. They'll be happy to play a waiting game, of course. And 1-0 for them will be quite acceptable. Don't forget, Paraguay have to win. Nunez, the blonde head of the midfielder there, in the centre circle, and that's a foul by Nunez. Well, this Group 2 really has been fascinating right from our very first game back in August. Colombia it was then against Ecuador. And here come the Ecuadorians again, looking very confident on the ball. And once again, they're testing the keeper. And Fernandez is down to save. And that's Aviles on the far side, getting the shot in. And already Fernandez has made a couple of good saves. Sid once again here, perhaps a little more power in the shot might have been necessary, but the 34-year-old was quickly down at the near post. This is Bravo, the youngster, doing well. And the way the game's gone off, you'd think Ecuador were playing for a place in Italy. Well, great credit to their trainer, Dusan Draskovic, the Yugoslavian. Played in the Yugoslavian Premier Division before early retirement through injury, and taking up the coaching reins, and he's done rather well here in South America. Ecuadorian football rather on a high at the moment. They've committed themselves well here in Group 2. Never fancied, of course, to qualify, but they've shown themselves to be no fall guys. And Ecuadorian football, perhaps fair to say, 10, 15 years behind in its development of some of its more illustrious near neighbours. But Draskovic is certainly putting down a good foundation for the future. And so far, little threat from Ferreira, the Paraguayan star striker, seen really nothing of the ball. Ecuador once again quick on the break, really looking really quite threatening there. They had two men through the middle, and Paraguay looked to be a wee bit at 6s and 7s. Well, we saw this here against Colombia in the same stadium, and Colombia contained the early fire from the home side, and as the game wore on, really the Ecuadorians fell a little by the wayside, and finished 0-0 that day. And if it finishes that way today, it'll be the Colombians to profit once again. Nunez with the header, looking for Canete. And they've given it away. Kept in on the far side. Ecuador looking lively down that left flank. Aviles, of course, one of the real finds of Ecuadorian football, and he may well be on his way to Mexico after this game. They've promised him a transfer once Ecuador's involvement in the qualifiers is over, and he'll be seeking his fortune a little bit further north from here in the Mexican First Division next season. Here's Aviles, the lovely turn from the Ecuadorian top scorer in their league last season. And wins a corner, does he? Well, he might have left that to go behind, but elected for the cross. And perhaps wasn't the best option. But Aviles showing us already why he's the national top scorer in the league. Plays for Emelec, the current league champions. Now Paraguay have got a few men forward here. First time, in fact, we've seen them really in the Ecuadorian penalty area in any numbers. Can they get a shot in here? They can. And my goodness me, against the foot of that post. And back into Mendoza's hands. So Paraguay suddenly striking like a cobra, having seemed to slumber through the first 10 minutes. And that's the closest we've come to a goal. It remains 0-0 here in Guayaquil. And let's have a look at it once again here. It's Núñez, I think. No, Núñez, in fact, creating space. Looked as if he was going to shape to take the shot. And, in fact, we cut away from the shot of Ferreira. Kept it down and denied by the post. Good lively action here in the first half. Plenty of atmosphere. And I should think, apart from that scare in the last 60 seconds, the home fans happy with what they've seen so far from the local matadores. That's not a good cross from Quiñones. Rather aimless ball forward by Paraguay. Well, they've shown us how they can suddenly turn the half chance into a really potent threat. And how different things might have been for the Paraguayan nerves had that one gone in off the post. I know the Paraguayan press in the days leading up to this game have been quite merciless, and the pressure facing the team out on the pitch, I'm sure, hasn't really helped their task at all in this game. The keeper goes for a rather flamboyant punch, but the linesman was already flagging. And a very distinguished referee this afternoon, the man in black, I'm sure you recognise, Arnaldo Coelho from Brazil. A man with a wealth of experience of refereeing big-time internationals. And I'm sure that he'll keep a firm grip on proceedings. And Paraguay forced to concede a corner. So the final chapter of Group 2, and everything set up perfectly here in what's already been a fairly dramatic sequence of games. The final drama here to be played out in Guayaquil. Fernandez at 34. the oldest goalkeeper in this group. It certainly seems a trend worldwide that keepers seem to be staying on at their post later and later in life. One remembers, of course, Lev Yashin, the black cat of the 60s. And now, of course, our very own Peter Shilton, Dino Zoff, and Pat Jennings, all keepers who are still playing at the age of 40 and still at the top of their profession. So one thing we won't be seeing today, of course, is if Paraguay get a penalty, is the sight of Chilavert coming upfield to take one, as he did against Colombia, and scored, of course. The Paraguayan #1 keeper, who plays normally for Real Zaragoza in the Spanish league. The referee is very quick to spot every little infringement so far in the first 15 minutes, letting nothing go. And that's a free kick to Ecuador. If you've just joined us here in the first half, it's 0-0, and it's Paraguay defending the goal away to our right in the red and white. Don't forget, they need to win. A draw will not be good enough. Irrespective of the scoreline, Paraguay just behind Colombia, one crucial goal in it. So their task this afternoon here, quite simple really, in Guayaquil. It's win at all costs, and I wouldn't like to be in that Paraguayan team to have to go home and face the press in Asuncion if they were not to get the result here today. I told you about that press build-up in Paraguay, and it really has been quite merciless. How they love their football here in South America. Now Paraguay trying the patient build-up. The Ecuadorians countering very much quicker on the break, and here they come once again. And claiming a foul on Guerrero. Yes. The youngster takes a blow in the face. In fact, it's Munoz who'd come up from midfield. And I think Senor Coelho is going to have a word. Didn't quite see it there, but the Paraguayan coming away with the ball, but in the process Munoz poleaxed, and he's okay, so away we go. Ecuador have a free kick. 10 yards inside the Paraguayan half, and they've wasted it. Ecuadorian fans in their own way, quite brutal of any lapse from the standard they expect from their national side. That's good play by the Paraguayan midfielder, Nunez, the #6. He's very much the engine room of this Paraguayan midfield, and they're of course looking to provide the bullets for Ferreira. On the left now, Cabañas in field. Ecuador rather waiting for a whistle, which hasn't gone, and it's there. And it's turned in. Paraguay take the lead. 17 minutes gone, and it's the youngster Nefa, 17 years old, and he's put Paraguay ahead. They lead Ecuador by a goal to nil. Look at it once again, the build-up on the left. The early cross is really what undid Ecuador. And they hesitated for a second there, caught rather square, back on their heels. One or two of the players were looking to the linesman. Nefa, well, he did the simple thing, and that was to put the ball over the line from 4 yards. And Paraguay have the lead here in the first half. Nefa opens the scoring, and I wonder what the Paraguayans will do now. Surely that will take some of the pressure off their shoulders. They've unlocked the Ecuadorian defence, perhaps with their first serious attack, apart of course from Ferreira's snapshot against the post. And they're on 17 a perfect example of just how dangerous they can be on the break. And Ecuador, who'd looked so competent really in the opening phases, just rather caught out by the quickness of thought really, the early cross from the left. And that cross guided on across the 6-yard box. And Nefa turned it in. Now then, Paraguay, will they come out for a second? Or will they perhaps defend what they have? I would suggest it's rather early in the game for Paraguay to be thinking about closing the game up. And this is the foul on Nunez. It didn't seem quite as bad as that. But here come Paraguay once again, building from the left this time. It is a clear blast from the referee's whistle. But it wasn't a couple of minutes ago as Nefa opened the scoring. But I don't think Ecuador can have any complaints about that because, well, they had plenty of men back in their own penalty area, and it was hard to see just where an offside was coming from, if that indeed is what they were appealing for. Quiñones, that's a good touch. Capurro. Now Aguinaga. Looking for Benjamin Aviles. Drives the cross in and cut out by Fernandez, whose handling so far has been 100%. But a good build-up here by the Ecuadorians. A lovely ball inside the fullback. But a little bit hit and miss there with the cross. And that one's easily cut out in midfield by the goal scorer, who's just taken an ankle tap. Clutching his ankle, Nefa, he's all right. Once again, just a little bit of hesitation about the Ecuadorian central defenders. Quiñones, the libero, playing alongside Macias, have looked rather ponderous at times. But here come Ecuador, the number 17, with the cross, and it's not a good one. Munoz might have wished for a second chance there with that cross. Well, Ecuador, they've got nothing to play for, of course, apart from pride, and that here in Ecuador is certainly a major factor in any sporting encounter. But they've gotten the goal behind, and they can't qualify, of course, as we already know. So I wonder if Paraguay are going to really rub it in and make it safe. Free kick then to Paraguay, headed away by Macias. But not very far. Linesman's flagging. Now Paraguay, who are beginning to settle to their game and enjoying a lot more of the ball. They've almost visibly grown in confidence, really, since Nefa gave them the lead on 17, coming up to halfway through the first half. Here in the wonderful stadium of Barcelona. There are more than one Barcelonas in the world, of course. We all know the Barcelona of Johan Cruyff and the Nou Camp Stadium in Catalonia, but here away on the Pacific coast of Ecuador, one of the leading domestic clubs also with that famous name. Quiñones dominant at the back with the header. And that one should be the keeper's. Well, rather wanting a second grab at it. And fortunate to have had the time to do so. He's been largely a spectator up to now, Mendoza, but he's seen one rattle against his left-hand post. And he's had to pick one out of the net as well. However, it's a free kick to Ecuador, just 1 yard inside the Paraguayan half. Perfect playing conditions down on the pitch. As you can see, really one of the better stadiums in South America. A superb playing surface, well grassed. One or two we've seen in this group have been rather rutted and a little bit arid, but this one really is a credit to the Ecuadorian ground staff. And playing some neat football once again in the build-up. But it's all pretty patterns, and now perhaps it'll be more than just a pretty pattern. They're in, and it's there! Ecuador have equalised, and that really was a superb goal. Well, 3 or 4 passes through the midfield, it didn't seem to be really going anywhere. And suddenly, a ball delivered inside the full-back, and we've seen that before in this half, and it's Aguinaga. On 26 minutes, look at it once again here. That was the ball that did it. Aguinaga onto it, a right footer inside the far post. No chance for Fernandez, and Ecuador are back in it. So that really has set the stadium alight here. It's Ecuador 1, Paraguay 1 in the first half. Paraguay caught out by the through ball, which just evaded the fullback. And Mr. Coelho wants Paraguay to get on with things. Torrales it was who was undone by the through ball. I think it was Fajardo who played it through. But no doubt about the goal scorer here in Guayaquil. It's Aguinaga who's got the mariachi once again banging out their best tune, and the crowd really revelled in that one. So Ecuador, who could so easily have gone into their shell having conceded the goal. Paraguay, of course, looking for the win, and now they've got to start all over again. Keeper didn't get it. The referee is pointing for an infringement by the penalty spot, and that must have been a foul on the keeper. Well, I must say that Mendoza hasn't looked too convincing coming off his line. Again, he didn't make the ball his, really. It, in fact, came off Quiñones' head. But the referee deciding there had been an infringement. So, Paraguay are pegged back, and the drama continues in Group 2. We await to see who will be going to face the winners of the Oceania Group. That one we already know. It's Israel, but will it be Paraguay or will it be Colombia? Now there's a chance here perhaps for Paraguay. Well, the shot really too tame to worry Mendoza. Ferreira, and just to confuse matters, Paraguay have a Mendoza of their own. It's the youngster who, in fact, this time turns goal creator, or almost, because that was Nefa's through ball, and Paraguay might have been rather firmer with the finish. And a grasping shot comes in. Ecuador really are taking the game to Paraguay now, and the crowd are loving this. Great save from Fernandez. And it needed to be, because a rasping 30-yarder was on its way into the top corner. There it is again. Certainly on target. And the flying keeper, Fernandez, puts it behind for this corner to Ecuador. It comes in from the far side. Paraguay will get it away. Will they? Yes, they will. And in fact, a little bit of barging with the elbow. And Paraguay survive. Well, half an hour gone. Nothing defensive about this game whatsoever. South American soccer at its best. And we're all tied up here at 1 apiece. Capurro, this excellent fullback, really a tremendous find in Ecuadorian football. Capurro, the outstanding player in the recent South American Championships. Foul given against the Paraguayan number 4, Torrales. Nunes, the hard man, goes back to just line up a 3-man wall, make sure that Fernandez has got a sight of the ball. Now, free kick to Ecuador. Once again, they're going for glory, but way too high. Well, as we've told you before, Ecuador have never been to the World Cup finals. The closest they came was back in 1950, when the tournament was held in Brazil. And they were in fact invited at a time when England made their first appearance in a rather inauspicious fashion, losing in one of the qualifying games to USA by 2-1. Something that English football is still attempting to live down over in the United States. But Ecuador were actually invited to those finals. They couldn't make the trip for financial and political reasons, and perhaps they've regretted that decision ever since, because they're still trying, and I'm afraid 1990 will not be their year either. And will it be Paraguay's? Well, of course, we saw them in Mexico in 1986, where they made the acquaintance of a rampant England and a certain Mr. Gary Lineker. But at the moment, it's all looking very, very fragile for Paraguay. Colombia, don't forget, sitting at the top of Group 2 here at the start of play with the extra point and that crucial extra goal, as goal difference could make all the difference here to the final outcome of Group 2. Paraguay can quite simply make a nonsense of all the arithmetic, and to do that they've got to score again, and they've got to keep out Ecuador. Well, from the free kick, they're not going to do it like that. High over the bar of Mendoza, and greeted with whistles of derision from the Ecuadorians, who are having something of a carnival down here on the terracing as I look around me. Clearly enjoying their equaliser from Aguinaga. And what a great player he's going to be. And I'm sure that he's going to be missed if indeed he goes to seek his fortune as well after these championships in Mexico, as we've heard. Perhaps the nation's outstanding footballer, just 21. Very much in the Brian Robson mould, the playmaker, dictates things, makes things happen, and as we've seen, can score with either foot. Voted the top player in the 1986 South American Youth Championships. Senor Aguinaga. And here he is on the ball once again. This time he's given it away. So Paraguay in the red and white, don't forget if you've just joined us. Finding themselves a goal up through Nefa after 17 minutes as he turned in a simple cross really from the left. Just a close-range side footer, enough to defeat Mendoza. And Aguinaga bringing the teams back level on 26. That's the story then of the first half. It's been thoroughly entertaining stuff. And if I was a betting man, I wouldn't like to really put money on either of these teams. Anybody's game here then. And Senor Coelho, who's been firm but fair, I'd say, has also done his part in stamping out any nonsense. And perhaps that goal of Ecuador was just the tonic we needed, because as the game had dragged on, well, certainly into the second half, should Paraguay get a second, I'm sure we'll see them indulge in every time-wasting trick in the book. That one from, well, 35 yards. Not too far away from the bar of Paraguay, and causing Fernandez just to fly through the air for a second, but always rising and eventually going behind for this goal kick. The Ecuadorians certainly full of ambition and not afraid to try the long-range effort. Nunez in first in midfield. Has got a bit of a reputation, the blonde number 6. Here he is on the ball now. Looks up, plays the ball wide. Paraguay have been at their best really when playing wide down the flanks rather than through the middle for Ferreira. But here they are getting caught on the break once again. There's some defending to do here, and speed down the left. That's a good tackle, no foul. Guerrero, the man showing his paces. But a good saving tackle coming in. And a good decision too from the man there in the centre of your picture. Trying to get Cabanas away. And I'd suggest that Ferreira, who really is the outstanding player for Paraguay, won't be too happy with the kind of service he's had so far in this first half. There's a certain, well, a real lack of urgency at times about Paraguay. They almost feel as if they'll stroll through the game, they can pick up the pace as and when they want, and they'll unlock this Ecuadorian defence. And they certainly did that after 17 minutes, but they've since suffered the severe shock of conceding a goal at the other end. Now that's not a good defensive clearance from Ecuador, but Paraguay once again patient on the build-up. They keep possession on the far side, always looking for Nunez to prompt from midfield. One or two of the players once again thinking a whistle had gone. It hadn't, and that's a real chance which Paraguay put over the bar, and they may well rue that one. Good build-up in tight play. Once again, one or two of the Ecuadorian defenders beginning to stand around and wait for things to happen. Quiñones realised the danger. He was too late to get in the challenge, and Nunez had followed up the move he initiated, but puts the left footer over the bar. Best chance for Paraguay since the equaliser went in, and they're having a good spell here. Well, Nunez was fouled clearly, but although he was up quickly to remonstrate with the Ecuadorian number 17, the referee deciding it's a yellow card, and it's a yellow card for Munoz. Paraguay once again on the far side. They look dangerous when they play these low crosses in. One or two of the Ecuadorian defenders are not so good defending facing their own goal. And at times it's Quiñones who's the only back four man who really seems to be alert to the danger. But here are Ecuador doing what they're doing best here in this game, and that's coming through quickly on the break from the back. And just edged out to the byline from that angle. Unable to deliver the cross, they win a corner. The big defender Quiñones comes up to add his height to what's not a particularly tall Ecuadorian front line. See what they can make of this corner. They're looking for Quiñones. Ecuador will pick it up on the far side of the box as Paraguay come out. That's a good ball played in. Now then, from here, against the post and away. And Paraguay get away with that by the skin of their teeth. So we've had one ricochet against the post at either end. And that evens that particular score up. But Paraguay unlocked once again in the same position from where the goal came. The keeper completely beaten. Could only stand and stare as that one ricocheted back from the post. Tremendous shot. Ecuador then unlucky as we approach half-time, not in fact to be in front. And the number 17, Munoz, in danger there of getting into trouble with the referee. Away we go. This is Aguinaga. Well, you could almost feel the intake of breath here around us as Aguinaga gets on the ball and goes for goal. Surrounded by Paraguayan shirts, wasn't the finish on target he would have liked. But it really does cause a stir when he's on the ball, this young man, Aguinaga. Only 21, don't forget. And let's hope we hear a lot more of him in the future. Ecuador perhaps not destined to play a role in the World Cup finals, but their presence on the world stage gathering in stature really with every game they play, and it's all down, of course, as we said, to the Yugoslavian trainer Draskovic. And I'm sure there's a few international sides who could find space in their lineups for Aguinaga. So a temporary respite with a couple of players needing attention. And Aguinaga, don't forget, is the free kick specialist as well for Ecuador. It will be interesting to see what he can produce should the home side get any decisions around the Paraguayan penalty box. Well, the unfortunate sight now of a player being stretchered off. Let's hope it's nothing too serious. And Ecuador not yet preparing to make a substitution. As you see, just a couple of minutes to half-time. That was the challenge. And seemed to get a blow in the face. But quite why that should require the attention of two stretcher bearers, I'm not sure. So the last couple of minutes of what's really been a thoroughly entertaining first half. The final chapter of Group 2 unfolds here in Guayaquil as we look for the winners who will go forward to play Israel. And Ecuador really giving the Paraguayans a run for their money, and my goodness me, that wasn't too far away. Right on the stroke of half-time, Paraguay at 6s and 7s, the cross in from the right. Guerrero feeds it on, diving header from, need I tell you, Aguinaga, and it's just wide of the post. There's the cross and the flying header, which surely would have left Fernandez no chance, just the wrong side of the post from an Ecuadorian point of view. Fine move, perhaps the best of this first half in what really has been a tremendous advert for South American football. Well, that, I'm sure, would have shaken the Paraguayans to their boots, and I'm wondering just what trainer Eduardo Manera is going to have to say to them at half-time, because This really hasn't been the performance of a side knowing they have to win, who really look as if they feel they're on their way to Italy. In fact, if it continues like this, they're going to be on their way to defeat. Now perhaps can they produce something in the dying seconds of the first half. Nunes, who's had a good first half for Paraguay. He's been busy. He's the ball winner in midfield, and he's launched one or two Paraguayan attacks, but not enough really from their point of view. Ecuador have clearly shaded things in the first half, and perhaps they're unlucky not to be ahead. And the crowd once again rising to Ecuador as they play their way into the Paraguayan box. Just wanted to do too much with it there. Guerrero, Munoz was waiting at the far post. Back come Ecuador. Well, I think some of the crowd thought they'd seen a penalty there, but that's the expectation anytime somebody goes crashing in the box. So Ecuador finishing on a high at the end of the first half, and the home crowd rise to salute Ecuador, who are tied up against Paraguay here at half-time. It's one apiece. Nefer opens the scoring for Paraguay on 17. They're pegged back by Aguinaga on 26. Still to play for in the second half, a place in Italy. Join us after the break. Welcome back to the stadium here in Guayaquil as we get underway in the second half. And the scores there: Ecuador 1, Paraguay 1. Unlike our caption, it's Ecuador the home side here. Of course, as you've heard, plenty of noise from the Ecuadorian fans in the first half. And why not indeed, because their side have had the better of things. As we start in the second half, Paraguay with the first attack of the game. And a save by the keeper at the second attempt. The referee, in fact, I believe, looking at his linesman, but deciding that Ecuador have the ball, so play on. But an early reminder there that Paraguay need careful watching on the break, because Ecuador, on one or two occasions in the first half, just had an inclination to go to sleep for a second in defence, and that's perhaps why they're classed as the minnows of this group. Defending over 90 minutes and keeping concentration is, of course, the problem for the smaller sides, and it's what marks out the real masters from the also-rans. But having said that, Ecuador looking admirable coming forward, and certainly with the shot that flew against the post just before half-time, unlucky to go into the dressing rooms at one apiece. But Ecuador won't mind that. They took the honours in what really was, at times, a scintillating first-half display. And it's Paraguay now who have to fret out the final 45 minutes to find out if they're going to be the victors of Group 2 and edge out Colombia for that playoff place against the winners of the Oceania Group. Certainly on the evidence of the first half, they've got it all to do here in the second. This has been a nervous performance from Paraguay, and perhaps it all goes back to that media pressure in their homeland I was talking about in the first half. Now a man who for me was the pick of the Ecuadorian side in that first half, Guerrero, the 25-year-old winger here, the number 11. He really did give the opposition at times the runaround. Caceres, Delgado, who at the heart of the Paraguayan defence, was really giving some of his defenders a right old mouthful at times. Now we're going all the way back to the keeper. As I was following the play, Mendoza requires some treatment. In fact, Mendoza is all right, and it's one of the Colombian defenders who's down. We can't see from here. And that's the second stretcher case we've seen either side of half-time. Well, still no sign of substitutes. And now, in fact, the Ecuadorians have got a couple warming up. However, back to the other end, Ecuador, of course, in this half, if you've just joined us, playing from right to left, and they're the team in the yellow and blue. Fernandez really could do little about Aguinaga's equaliser on 26, as Aguinaga cut in from the left and drilled a low shot inside his far post from a dozen yards. And that one cancelling out a first half goal from the young Paraguayan midfielder, Nefa, the youngest man on the park at just 17 years old. And he's a player also with a great future. There's a booking. And now that's one apiece we've had. But Mr. Coelho from Brazil, he's played a full part in this game as well. It really has been one of the more entertaining we've seen in Group 2. Well, it's turning into a cliffhanger, isn't it? It all started way back on the 20th of August, don't forget, in Barranquilla, when Colombia met Ecuador and came away winners by 2-0. Since then, Paraguay have beaten Colombia. Ecuador and Colombia was goalless here the last time we were in this stadium. Then Paraguay beating Ecuador by 2-1, and that one goal conceded perhaps may prove to be the crucial goal. We shall see at the end of 90 minutes. And of course last week then, Colombia going back to the top of the group as they beat Paraguay once again in Barranquilla by 2-1. So there you have it. It couldn't have been better scripted for us, could it? It's real nail-biting stuff, particularly if you're a fan of the team in red and white. And I'm sure that Eduardo Manera, the Argentinian trainer, would have had some strong words for the Paraguayan side during the half-time interval. It was an interval which was accompanied here by the non-stop mariachi bands and trumpets of the Ecuadorians, and they're enjoying a real football fiesta here today, one of their most impressive international displays in quite some time. And once again in the second, they're not afraid to take the game to Paraguay. And that man Guerrero wins the free kick, and he really is proving to be the joker in the pack in this Ecuadorian team. Quinones, for once, opting to stay back. He takes the free kick. The Ecuadorian captain. Whistle's gone. Certainly 2 or 3 players in this Ecuadorian side deserving of a wider international stage than perhaps they get playing in this neck of the woods down here on the west coast of South America, and of course surrounded by such powerful neighbours in the shape of Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay and Paraguay would perhaps like to see themselves in that major league as well. Well, Paraguay, if they're not careful, are going to be out of the competition here. They really have got to pick the game up in the second half. There's no doubt they've given second best to Ecuador, who've really caught the Paraguayans on the hop here with their aggressive display. Clearly pumped up for this one. Don't forget they're playing for nothing more than national pride, but perhaps to remind 1 or 2 of the other nations in South America and the other 2 sides in Group 2 that they weren't just the also-rans in this group, and if 1 or 2 results had gone their way, they could be going for glory themselves. Well, they're going for glory here, all right, in Guayaquil, because at the moment they're making the Paraguayans look distinctly second best. But of course, there's plenty of time to go, and Paraguay only need one goal. Lateral ball is too far forward. And that's a good clearance now. There's time and space for a cross here. It's too deep. They get a second chance. Two players go tumbling. And that'll be a free kick to Paraguay. Cabanas winning the free kick down by the byline. Nefa thought about taking it. Leaves it for Mendoza. Off the line, Mendoza, the keeper, lost it from Mendoza, who took the free kick, and Ecuador get it off the line. That one was going in. Well, the referee gave a quick look to his linesman, but no doubt that Ecuador just got it off the line at the last minute. Once again, we've really seen the Achilles heel in this Ecuadorian defence, and that is Mendoza. Mendoza, the keeper, that is, his inability to field the aerial ball. He showed us his weakness in the first half. Once again coming and not making the free kick for Mendoza's his. This time he's out. Well, he's happy with the ball played on the ground. But the newcomer to the national squad, he only came into the side this year. This is his home stadium, so he should be quite used to the surroundings. Ecuador coming back at the other end. Shot screwed wide of the post. Good shooting position engineered on the edge of the box. But one or two Ecuadorian hearts were in their mouths just a moment or so ago as the free kick came in from the right and headed out of Mendoza's hands, hooked away to safety off the line, and it remains here at one apiece. And really no shortage of action or drama here to satisfy the soccer fans amongst you. That's a tremendous early ball, 2 against 2 now in the back. Paraguay with some defending to do, they do it well. When Aviles and Guerrero are in full flight, they really do make this Paraguayan defence look positively panicky at times. And that one just going out of play. Throw it right in front of us. Taken by Capurro, this brilliant young discovery. Plays for the champions Emelec, as does the front runner Aviles. The Ecuadorian champions, very much the Liverpool of Ecuadorian soccer, Emelec. And I'm a little surprised that Paraguay haven't tried to test out Mendoza rather more with the aerial ball. They're content to play the patient build-up. Well, who's to say it's not going to work for them in the second? Bought them their first goal, and also a shot which came back off the post in the first half before the scoring began. But Mendoza there in picture does look distinctly uneasy when the ball's played into the box in the air. And fortunate for that man that he has a defender of the calibre of Quiñones in front of him. Well, Nunez goes down as if poleaxed, and as soon as the free kick's awarded, makes a miraculous recovery. There, I suggest it would be perhaps not in the best interests of the game, and certainly not for the impartial observer, were Paraguay to get a second now, because I'm sure that they'd close the game up completely and kill it stone dead. But as long as it remains like this at 1 apiece, then they've got to come forward. That's a terrible free kick by Ecuador. Well, Paraguay should have made more of that. And once again, a perfect example of the naivety which at times creeps into the Ecuadorian defenders, as they put together such flowing football through the midfield, and there's certainly no slouches up front either. But at times the defence certainly does make you feel a little uneasy. Oh, well, they play their way out of danger nicely here. Nunes cuts it out. The Ecuadorians have stolen the ball and they're getting forward into space here as they build on the left. Through ball, offside. Whistle's gone. Flag was up before Marzetti was in breaking from midfield to latch onto this ball from Guerrero, and the keeper made it his anyway, but it wouldn't have counted. And now, of course, the Paraguayan is going to need some treatment. Well, this really isn't in the best interests of Paraguay. I can understand their desire to break the game up and perhaps affect the Ecuadorians' buoyancy and their current ebullience almost, because they're really looking very, very lively indeed when coming forward, and the Paraguayans taking every opportunity just to slow things down and really break up the pattern of play. But with minutes ticking by, that's not going to be in their best interests, of course, if it remains like this. Ecuador 1, Paraguay 1 here in the second half. If you've just joined us in Guayaquil and you're watching the final game in Group 2 of this World Cup qualifying group, which quite simply has to result in a win for Paraguay, the visiting team here, if they're to go forward as champions of Group 2 ahead of Colombia. Good skills on the far side, two defenders round him, one of whom of course was the tireless Nunes, who's been absolutely everywhere across this Barcelona pitch. And the shot dipping just over the crossbar, and Fernandez really does look to be in some discomfort. Hobbling, so perhaps I was doing the Paraguayan keeper a disservice with that last pause for injury, and he's not taking the goal kicks either. So the Ecuadorians shoot on sight policy. They let go a few long shots in the first half. One tremendous shot which Fernandez did in fact turn around the post. Just heading for the top corner, and suddenly the Paraguayan midfielder giving Ecuador all the freedom of the park. Final ball is not a good one, while Fernandez continues to hobble. Well, it's a game that came alive here, really, almost from the kickoff. We had an attack in the very first minute from Paraguay. And a lightning riposte indeed from the Ecuadorians. So the game finally balanced. Anybody's game here in Guayaquil. One apiece in the second half. Paraguay knowing that they have to get a second. And once again, further evidence that if a goal is going to come here, it's going to come from the home side. Headed away by the defence, and in fact, there's another offside. But once again, down the left flank here in front of us. Aguinaga breaking from midfield, well supported by Guerrero, who for me has had quite an outstanding game. And the right flank of the Paraguayan defence does seem to be their weakness. Cáceres, Núñez in front of him trying to protect the fullback, but he's also trying to do a midfield role to get the forwards going. Ferreira, who's had a very quiet time of it. He's the man Paraguay look to for the goal scoring that they need. Already suffering, of course, because their goal difference to Colombia is inferior. And Ecuador, to their credit, continue to boss this one. Ecuador, if you've just joined us, in the yellow, playing here through the midfield and keeping possession, and that's a lovely turn away from the defender. Then wanted to do too much with it. Now they've got some defending to do. They're exposed on the left flank. Shot comes in across the face of goal. Did the keeper get a touch? Might have pulled it back for any one of those three waiting forwards. See it again here. On the left foot, just getting underneath it, and in the end really neither a cross nor a shot, and harmlessly behind. And Ferreira, Mendoza and Nefa were the three men who might have been hoping to convert that one. So we're coming up to the midpoint in the second half. Chance perhaps? Well, just a glimmer of a half chance, but not falling for Ferreira to control, and Mendoza out to tidy up. Ferreira, the danger man, the 28-year-old, plays, of course, in France for Brest in the French First Division. Ecuador not afraid to take the most direct route to goal, are they? Fajardo there trying to run his way through three Paraguayan defenders. And still Ecuador refusing to be intimidated by their hosts, from their guests from the other side of the Andes. I was about to say that Ecuador here, the host country, rather threatening to spoil the Paraguayan party. Here's Núñez with the free kick. Can't find a red and white striped shirt. And Ecuador once again looking busy as they break out of defence. Good controlled play on the far side as they make 50-60 yards quickly. And not afraid to put their foot on the ball, but that wasn't a good one. But a nice break, a nice build-up on the far side. And both the Paraguayan fullbacks today here, Cáceres and Corrales, have had a bit of a torrid time. What has surprised me really in this game, it's been a pleasant surprise I must say, but the Paraguayan defenders haven't really snapped into action in midfield. We're rather used to seeing some fairly intimidating tackling coming in from Paraguayan national teams of the past, and they almost seem to have relinquished the midfield at times. Perhaps some of that's down to the good refereeing we've seen from the Brazilian. He hasn't stood for any nonsense, but certainly if I was the Paraguayan trainer on the bench, Mr. Manera, Eduardo Manera, I'd be looking for a little more snap and aggression in the tackle. And Paraguay are not winning the midfield battle at the moment. and that's really been their problem. They're not testing Mendoza either with crosses like that. We've already seen his susceptibility to the aerial ball, but at the moment Paraguay rather bereft of attacking ideas, and they're finding it difficult to really test this young keeper. And in fact, they've decided that it's time to do something drastic. Object from the crowd there thrown, which hits the Paraguayan trainer, but it's a substitution. And it looks like Hicks who's coming on. Trying to get Ferreira away. Back come Ecuador. Spreading the play well. Guerrero to the far side. Oh, that one taking a rather wicked deflection, which Fernandez was equal to. Offside. Well, I think Paraguay are going to make the substitution. Yes, they are. And the number 8 coming off is Mendoza. And the substitute is Hicks. Hicks, I need hardly tell you, is a gentleman with an English background, of course. His forefathers emigrating to Paraguay, hence the Anglo-Saxon name. Anyway, for the remaining 20-25 minutes or so, Senor Hicks is on for Paraguay to see what he can do. Well, at the moment, he'll have to do some defending. That ball cut out, shot comes in. It's Marcetti, the number 7. Takes the ball into his teammates, enjoys the celebrations of the huge crowd who are really making some noise right now. Paraguay's World Cup dream is about to be destroyed. 74 minutes gone here in the Estadio de Barcelona in Guayaquil, and the home side lead by 2 goals to 1. Well, this is nothing short of sensational. Paraguay, who have really played the first 74 minutes in an almost soporific state of mind, feeling as if they only had to play their way casually through the Ecuadorian defence to find the goal. And it all seemed perhaps too easy for them once they'd taken the lead. No urgency about them at all in this second half. Ecuador doing what they've threatened to do on the break so many times, as Paraguay failed to clear their lines from the edge of the box. It's the midfielder Marcetti following up, and the number 7 drills a left footer low and hard from 20 yards into the Paraguayan net. Fernandez is beaten once again, and we're really in for a final storming 15 minutes here, I'd suggest, before the curtain comes down on Group 2. Here we get a second chance to see it. As sweet a strike as you could ever wish to see, and that sent the Ecuadorian fans here around me absolutely furious. Ecuador once again, rather almost toyed with the Paraguayans. Well, Russian blood there perhaps, but who could blame the young man? Marcetti it was again. He's just scored the second Ecuadorian goal. And look at this, he left the defenders for dead. Turns infield, back outside the defender, and then I think he had a rush of blood. This is going to be a marvellous result for Ecuador if it stays like this. The Paraguayan bench are up on their feet. They're thinking about a second substitution. No sooner has Hicks come on for Canete than they're behind. And we're inside the final 15 minutes. Well, you heard the roar in the stadium for yourself when that goal went in. And I should think it's a roar that would have been equalled in the country of Colombia. Substitution now for the home side. Ecuador are bringing off Guerrero, who for me has really had a quite phenomenal game. And it's Tenorio who's on for the last 13 minutes. Tenorio then for Guerrero. And here come Ecuador again. They're round the keeper, off the line. That one was going, no doubt about it, into the back of the net. Our apologies if you just lost sound there for a second, but we see it on the replay here. A chance here for Ecuador to really finish it off, and it's headed off the line by Delgado. And that really would have been quite incredible. Paraguay were left completely shredded. The defence was nowhere, and look at that bench, they're absolutely distraught. They see the game slipping away from them. The Paraguayans who came here favourites to land the victory they needed. They've got a goal behind now with less than 12 minutes remaining. And surely their participation in the World Cup qualifying tournament for 1990 would have ended had that shot gone in. Now we've got some off-the-ball nonsense, which brings the Ecuadorian bench to their feet. Camera didn't pick it up. And the Paraguayans, one or two heads have dropped, I'm afraid. They really do look a dispirited bunch now. All the fire and all the fervour's coming from the men in the yellow shirts. Perhaps we should call them gold, because Ecuador here are going for gold. Remember, they entered this game with nothing more to play for than national pride. And they have really given the Paraguayans a soccer lesson here in the second half. And here they come again. That's a free kick. And now for the first time, one or two of the Paraguayans losing their heads. And not surprisingly, Nunez is involved in it. Yes, stamping on the Ecuadorian player who went to ground. And now Senor Coelho has got to do something to sort this out. Substitute Hicks is involved. I can't see who the Ecuadorian player is who's down. It's a card, is it? And I think Nunez has been sent off. Well, it's really all going wrong now. The wheels are coming off for Paraguay. Yes, there it was. We picked it up quite clearly on the replay. Nunez just putting his studs into the heels of the Colombian man who was down. He's the third, Colombia, the Ecuadorian man who's down. I'm just looking at the tables here and working out the arithmetic. There's so much going on the pitch and off the pitch, it's hard to keep up with the tempo here. Ecuador are leading by 2-1. Paraguay are down to 10 men. Nunez sent off, 10 minutes from time for stamping on the heels of a Colombian player. Paraguay have to score too. Well, that's the closest they've come in quite some time, but sending on another substitute here. It's Verduga. Verduga, and in fact you had a shot of the Paraguayan substitute, but Verduga's come on for Ecuador, and he's come on for Marsetti. And it must have been Marsetti who was stretchered off there after that clash, which saw Nunez seeing the red card. And the Paraguayans have a second substitute on to join Hicks. And we'll wait to see the caption for that. So my apologies if I confused you by calling the team in the yellow Colombia. But you really do need some log tables here to sort out this group now, because the goal difference, which of course was working against Paraguay really from the kickoff, may now just be immaterial if it stays like this, because Ecuador are on their way to the 2 points inside the final 10 minutes. And they lead Paraguay by 2-1. Aguinaga in the first half, Marsetti in the second. There's no denying that there was a goal really thoroughly deserved, and certainly I felt a long time coming, but it was on the cards. Ecuador on the break have posed all sorts of problems for this Paraguayan defence, and they have to play out the last 9 minutes without Iron Man Núñez, and from somewhere they have to find 2 goals of their own if they're to turn this one around. Yes, there'll be 1 or 2 anxious faces on that bench as everybody looks at their watch. Well, I can tell them that we've got 8 minutes to go. And the Paraguayans now down to 10 men, forced to push up. And of course that means gaps at the back for the lively Ecuadorian forwards to exploit. Cross comes in. Fernandez out of goal, hacks the ball away. And that'll go into touch, will it? No, kept in by Capurro. Capurro, who always keeps his head. Oh, now the crowd really are beginning to enjoy this as they're giving their local heroes the bullfight ole as they play the ball around, play out time, and frustrate the Paraguayans. This is going to go down as one of the great days in Ecuadorian footballing history, I would suggest. I wonder who could have expected this. Paraguay knowing that they had to come here to get a win. And here they are approaching the final 5 minutes, trailing by 2-1, and really being stretched at 6s and 7s once again by Ecuador. They've got a man over here. It's Aviles. Will you believe it? And that surely is the final chapter in Group 2. Ecuador lead Paraguay by 3-1. Aviles, 5 minutes from time. Cross comes in, defenders miss it, and Aviles keeps his head to drill a right footed past Fernandez and into the bottom corner. It's 2 goals in 10 minutes for Ecuador. And look at that. A tumultuous night of football here in Guayaquil. Ecuador are leading Paraguay by 3-1. And if you thought the crowd were making noise in the first half, I can tell you now the crescendo that is crashing round our ears here is nothing short of deafening. There it is again. Well, the director's going to play that one back as many times as he possibly can. And why not? This has been a quite outstanding footballing performance from Ecuador. It's the first time in this group that any side has scored 3. And who would have bet money on it being little Ecuador against the Paraguayans? The side, of course, who were in Mexico 4 years ago, before being eliminated by Bobby Robson's England by 3-0. On 4 occasions, Paraguay have reached the World Cup finals. But they're not going to do it here. And I'm sure the inquest back in Asuncion will be long, hard, and quite brutal as well for some of these players. And I wonder indeed if manager Manera will survive. This defeat will have severe repercussions in Paraguay, and I'm sure will take a long, long time for Paraguayan football to forget. But for Ecuador, well, I should think all 11 men who've made this possible, plus the 2 subs, will be given the freedom of the nation if it stays like this. And you have to say that despite the boost of the early goal, I mean, it's almost incredible now to think back to the first half that Paraguay actually opened the scoring through Nefa. And since then, Ecuador have got better and better. And they've completely controlled this game in the second half. Paraguay really have been, by their standards, extremely disappointing. Well, perhaps a late consolation, some pushing in the box. So we're playing out the final few minutes in the final game of Group 2 as the curtain comes down on what has been a quite dramatic World Cup qualifying group. Now we've got another Colombian down, another off-the-ball incident as that free kick was played in. It's Quiñones, who I wonder if he's just perhaps playing the old pro and wasting a few precious seconds. Well, there's no need for that really, because Ecuador tonight have let their football do the talking for them. Their brilliant playmaker Aguinaga opening the scoring on 26. Marcetti rifling home a 20-yarder from the edge of the box after a Paraguayan foot had deflected the ball to him. And then 2 goals in 10 minutes as Aviles really made the game safe, sensationally adding a third in the 84th. And the Ecuadorian leading scorer from league champions Emelec signs off in style as he goes to join, we think, Club Azul in the Mexican First Division. Guerrero, before being substituted, was a constant thorn as well in the Paraguayan side. And without doubt, they really have had the players today who've risen to the big occasion. Paraguay perhaps frozen by the nerves which have got the better of them, knowing the pressure that was on them. A win or nothing for them, it was do or die. And they've been completely thrown out of their stride by an Ecuadorian performance which will be long talked about in this part of South America, I can tell you. Final couple of minutes then here in our final game from Group 2. And the home fans now, and all the mariachi and bandsmen around us, girding their loins and preparing for one final victory blast, which I'm sure will greet the referee's whistle at the end of the 90 minutes. And the Paraguayans now resigned to defeat and just left really to argue amongst themselves, argue with the referee and try and decide where it all went wrong. Given the best possible start with Nefa's goal, Ferreira, who's been completely dominated up front, they've never pressured Mendoza, even when the keeper gave clear indications that he was obviously shaky underneath the aerial ball. Well, he's hardly been tested in the second half, Mendoza. And Ecuador looking positive, incisive on the break. They've got men over here, left and right. Well, really, they could so easily have had a fourth there. And the Paraguayans have just about given up the ghost by now. Fernandez will dispute every decision to the last, but look at this. 4 Ecuadorians against 2 Paraguayan defenders there. Must have taken a deflection because Ecuador have the corner. So, could be the final action of the 90 minutes. Infringement in the box, and Paraguay just really going through the motions now. As legs become tired and the play beginning to open up. But Quiñones outstanding at the back once again for Ecuador. Clears up the danger. Cross behind for a corner. A referee checks his watch. And we're coming up to injury time at the end of the game. And it's all gone wrong in Guayaquil for Paraguay. Crowd rise once again as the Ecuadorians break, and Paraguay, the last line of defense, just doing enough. Zabala and Delgado have had no answer to the incisive running of the Ecuadorian front men. There it is, the final whistle, and a night for Ecuador to celebrate, a game that will go down in the annals of Ecuadorian history as perhaps one of their greatest performances ever. The final score here in the Estadio de Barcelona in Guayaquil is Ecuador 3, Paraguay 1. Goals in the first half from Aguinaga, cancelling out the opener from Nefa. And Ecuador then, as they threatened to do throughout the game, really taking control in the final 15 minutes through Marcetti and Aviles. It leaves the top of Group 2 looking as it did at kick-off time. Colombia are the winners. Played 4 points 5, Paraguay second, a point behind following their defeat here against Ecuador. And it's Colombia who'll go forward to play Israel for a place in the World Cup finals in Italy.